arms. Present arms. Order, arms.
Please remain standing for our school prayer. Blessed Mother Mary Rose, we firmly believe in the power of your intercession with Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We beg you to hear our humble prayers and to obtain for us favors which in our eyes and silence of our hearts. God our Father, who knows all, can do all things and loves us, sure of God's love, and strong in our faith together with you, Blessed Mother Mary Rose, we accept God's most holy will through Jesus Christ. Amen. Please be seated. I have the honor and privilege of introducing a distinguished alum of Holy Names, Rear Admiral Nancy Lacore, Commandant, Naval District, Washington. Rear Admiral Nancy Lacore is a native of Albany, New York, a 1986 graduate of the Academy of the Holy Names, and a 1990 graduate of the College of the Holy Cross, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts degree and her commission from the Reserve Officer Training Corps program. She earned a Master of Arts degree from San Diego University and is a graduate of the Air Command and Staff College and the National Defense University at the Joint Forces Staff College. She was designated a Naval Aviator in 1993. Her tours include Helicopter Combat Support Squadrons 8 in Norfolk, Virginia, and 3 in San Diego, California, as well as the Commander Helicopter Tactical Wing Pacific. She affiliated with the Navy Reserve in 2000. Her staff assignments include Naval Air Wings Pacific, San Diego, California, and Commander Amphibious Squadron 4 Detachment 104, Bessemer, Alabama. She served as Executive Officer of Tactical Air Control Squadron 2186 and Commander Strike Force Trainee Atlantic, and as Chief Staff Officer for Commander U.S. 2nd Fleet Joint Force Air Component Commander Norfolk, Virginia. She mobilized to serve as Chief Key Leader Engagement and Headquarters International Security Assistance Force in Kabul, Afghanistan. Her command tours include Commander Destroyer Squadron 40 Headquarters, Jacksonville, Florida, CNA C6F, Maritime Partnership Program Detachment 413, Detroit, Michigan, and U.S. Fleet Forces Command Maritime and Air Operations Headquarters, Norfolk, Virginia. She served in a post-command assignment as Chief Staff Officer at U.S. Fleet Forces in 2017, from which she mobilized to serve as Commanding Officer, Camp Lamer de Bouty. Her flag assignments include Chief of Staff, U.S. Naval Forces Europe, U.S. Naval Forces Africa, and Vice Commander, U.S. 6th Fleet. Lacore's awards include the Legion of Merit, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Navy Commendation Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, and various campaign and unit awards. She has accumulated approximately 1,300 hours in military aircraft. Lacore assumed command as the 93rd Commandant of the Naval District, Washington, in June of 2022. It is my pleasure to welcome her to our campus. Thank you.
Thank you. I know the military titles and acronyms are really challenging. You did a great job on that. Ese quam videre. Powerful phrase, to be rather than to seem. It's pretty simple thought, very simple words, but I think a phrase with a lot of depth and impact. And in reflecting on my life since leaving here, that's been a North Star for me. Good morning, everybody. Faculty, students, class of 86, front row here. Great to see you. Thank you all for coming out as well. Thanks for welcoming back here at Holy Names. It's been too many years since I've been back here on campus. Unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of military life. You're working and living all over the world. But I really am honored to be here today. So many great memories came flooding back to me as I walked in the doors this morning. If I were to try to categorize those memories, I would say it was overwhelmingly about community and camaraderie that filled my 4 years here. Although I'll be honest, there was a little bit of anxiety about those horrible Mary Jane shoes that I had to wear for the first couple of years, so it's nice that they've changed those. You guys look great in those little Oxfords. This is where my Navy journey began, right here at Holy Names. Holy Names laid the foundation that supported my journey, a journey that carried me across the world on oceans and in the sky. And although my classmates and I set sail on very different waters upon graduation, it's the learning and the values that were instilled here that guided and supported our very different paths. To be honest, the military wasn't high on my interest list when I was here at Holy Names. I really knew very little about it. So how did I end up trading in a uniform that consisted of a skirt and blazer for a camouflage one? I attribute my decision to join the Navy to my dad, who encouraged me to think about service in the late 80s, arguably a time when it was uncommon for women to join the military. At that time, the idea of women in the military service was shadowed by skepticism and negative stereotypes. But my father had served 5 years in the Navy, so he knew what naval service was about, and he believed I had the skills that would be welcome in the Navy, ones that would help me succeed. Looking back, I realized that my father's support was not just a sign of his commitment to me, but a testament to his gender-blind view of talent and service. So with my dad's encouragement during my senior year, I applied for and accepted a Navy ROTC scholarship. I knew I could use it for 1 year without incurring a service obligation, so I reported to the College of the Holy Cross NROTC unit in the fall of 1986 and never looked back. You see, immediately upon entering that Navy environment, I was hooked. Esse quam videre comes to mind here. The Navy demanded full commitment and authentic leadership. You can't half do the Navy, and I was all in. Today I'm going to share a few stories that highlight the lessons I learned while here at Holy Names that have been instrumental in both my personal and professional life. The first is teamwork. There is no shortage of opportunities here to be part of a team, and I took advantage of many of those. Track, basketball, newspaper, yearbook, student council. The accepting, collaborative culture that permeates the school made joining those teams very easy. And from these, I gained leadership experience. I learned to make the most of others' strengths, and I learned to rely on my teammates. And teamwork has been a critical part of my Navy career. As a helicopter pilot, my team includes a co-pilot, maintenance crew, and ground support personnel. Everyone works tirelessly together to ensure the aircraft is safe and capable of carrying out our mission. The critical work of most of the team occurred long before go time, but it was essential to take off. Once in the air, it was up to me, the co-pilot, and the crew in the back of the helo to complete our mission and to bring the helicopter and crew safely back home. The success of a naval aviator is intertwined with the success of the entire crew, and I am no exception. Similarly, my achievements in the Navy rest upon the solid foundation built by the teams I've had the privilege to work with. I attribute my ability to lead, my ability to be a contributing member of a team, to the camaraderie and unity nurtured here in these walls. Here at Holy Names, I learned the power of collective effort, understanding, and mutual respect. I encourage you to take full advantage of the accepting and encouraging culture here at Holy Names to be part of a team, or many teams. You won't regret it. Understanding how to contribute in a team environment will serve you well, regardless of where your journey takes you. Second lesson I will give you is authenticity. I believe there is a big advantage to single gender education at the high school level, and that is cultivating authenticity. I know I certainly felt less pressure to conform to stereotypical gender roles and behaviors here at Holy Names. This enabled me to explore and express my interests and abilities more genuinely, ultimately building my capacity for authenticity. Authenticity has been a cornerstone of my career in the Navy. I distinctly remember the first time I was mentored in the Navy. I was in advanced helicopter training, and one of the instructors I had flown with several times offered some well-intentioned, although misguided advice. He told me, "Nancy, you're a great pilot, but you're never going to make it in the Navy. You're not tough enough." His words stung, and I really didn't know what to make of this unsolicited advice. On one hand, I was offended that he thought I wasn't cut out for the Navy. But on the other hand, I worried that maybe he was onto something. I thought I was tough, but at that point in my life, I had never really been tested. I knew I was soft-spoken, and I didn't think that was going to change. And I was generally kind to people, and I knew for sure that wasn't going to change. To think that I might fail, not because of my skill, but because of who I was, that was a tough pill to swallow. I knew I was walking into an environment where, as a woman, I would have many eyes on me, and I recall being genuinely concerned. I reflected on his words for a while, and then I decided it was a pill I didn't have to take. We all bring something different to the table. Some leaders are cheerleaders, always sharing motivating words. Others command attention with a booming voice and stern presence. I'm not either one of those leaders. There were times, however, early in my career where I tried to be those leaders, and I failed because I was not being authentic. I lead with calmness, directness, and empathy. This mix works for me because it's aligned with my true personality. There's no blueprint for leadership in the military or anywhere else for that matter. We all have our own unique mix of strengths and talents. When asked for leadership advice, I always say, be true to you. Don't try to fit yourself into someone else's leadership model. Authenticity is essential. This school afforded me the opportunity to develop an environment free from traditional societal expectations. I was able to cultivate a strong sense of self, including my values, beliefs, and personal goals. And I found the authentic me. So explore you while you're here at Holy Names. Take some chances, see what sticks, and find the authentic you. The third lesson I'll give you is values-based decisions. I cannot think of a better environment than here at Holy Names for you to refine your values. Certainly the religious instruction gives you a solid base, but the focus on social justice and service extends well beyond formal religion. The values and beliefs you cultivate now will be your guiding star in turbulent times. Stick with them. As a naval officer, I've been placed in many situations that demanded ethical decision-making. The guidance to those charged with command in the military is to play the ethical midfield. We don't want to be running near the sidelines where one misstep places us out of bounds. We must do what is right at all times, regardless of the circumstances or whether anyone is watching. It is not enough just to avoid doing the wrong thing. We are compelled to do things that are clearly the right thing and right by a wide margin. It's not always easy to shoulder the responsibility of ethical leadership, especially in the military. Sometimes during the fast pace of military operations, we're asked to make decisions without having all the information that we'd like to have. And this is when we fall back on our values. While there are certainly some high-stakes decisions made during military campaigns that demand values-based thinking, there are also lots of smaller, more routine decisions that demand this as well. Let me tell you about one of the values-based decisions I made and how it worked out. Life was good as a young Navy lieutenant flying helicopters. I was confident in my flying skills, I was respected by my peers, and I seemed to be on track to do well in the aviation community. A few years into my career, I married another helicopter pilot. A few years after that, and after much soul searching and the birth of my first child, I decided to transition from active duty to the reserve force. I valued my family and decided that my family needed to come first. This meant I wasn't going to be in the Navy full-time. It also meant I wasn't going to fly helicopters anymore. So it wasn't a decision I took lightly, because it was hard for me to walk away from flying, a career that I loved and one that was going well. But I realized I could still have a successful career in the Navy Reserve. It wouldn't include flying helicopters anymore, but many unique opportunities awaited me. Opportunities that allowed me to put my family first. I just needed to be open to different avenues. And although this was a tough decision for me, I fell back on my values, and family was high up on that list. And you know what? It worked out. I am a mother to 6 pretty awesome kids, and I've been able to have a fulfilling career in the Navy. A values-based decision turned out better than I could have imagined. Take time to refine your own values while you're here, and let them guide you throughout your life. Resilience is the final lesson for today. Resilience is the hallmark of military families. Military life isn't easy, and it certainly isn't for everyone. It's a hard lifestyle with long separations and frequent moves, but military families are resilient. We don't just endure, we thrive. Becoming resilient doesn't happen overnight. You build this little by little throughout your life as you overcome challenges and setbacks. Like any school, Holy Names is rightfully proud of the successes of the student body, but I want to highlight something different, the value of being able to fail here. Personally, I believe I learned more during the times that I stumbled. Being free of typical gender pressures here at Holy Names, it was a safe place to fail early and often. I tried a lot of different activities when I was here. I didn't excel in all of them, but I was comfortable giving them a try. I was also comfortable moving on if I discovered an activity wasn't my thing. There was overwhelming comfort in being able to explore, to fail, and to explore some more here. So much so that my senior quote in the yearbook was, "Don't worry about failure, worry about the chances you'll miss when you don't even try." One of those chances I took was on extemporaneous speaking. I don't know if that's still a thing here. I gave that a go once, and then learned that really was not my thing. It seemed like everybody in that competition was either going to be a defense attorney or an improv actor. not my cup of tea. There were other failed attempts too, but each time I tried something new and didn't succeed, I built resilience. And that resilience has served me well in the Navy. As I said earlier, in 2000 I left active duty, which means I left full-time Navy work so I could focus on my family. The Navy Reserve requires a minimum of 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year doing Navy stuff. And that model left me a lot of time to focus on my family and being a mom. But the reason we have a reserve is to augment the military in times of crises. So in 2011, after 10 years in the Navy Reserve, I was mobilized, which means I was involuntarily placed back on active duty to do full-time Navy work. But rather than a traditional Navy deployment on a ship, I was sent as an individual to Afghanistan without my family. My departure for Afghanistan was brutal. It was a combination of fear of the unknown, I was going into a combat zone, and fear of the known, what I was leaving behind. I felt as though someone had poured cement into me that day. The morning of my departure, I remember sitting in the kitchen, really just sitting there unable to move, and feeling a tremendous weight on me and in me. And as much as it tore me apart, it was infinitely more difficult to watch my departure tear my 6 kids apart. At that time, they were 14, 12, 11, 9, 6, and 4. Some of them fully understood what was going on. They were crying all morning. My youngest, Lillian, probably didn't fully understand it, but she was a puddle anyway because everybody else was crying. It's crushing to know that you're causing your children so much pain. And then I left for a year. Unfortunately, as military families know all too well, once a service member deploys, a lot of things go wrong at home. Kids get sick, or worse, the at-home parent gets sick. Appliances break, cars die. It's a lot to juggle. I have been the at-home parent a few times when my husband Pat deployed on a ship, but this was his first time being the at-home parent. And in keeping with tradition, a lot went wrong. Pat had more than his fair share of deployment difficulties to deal with. Our son Patrick was sick a lot. He had strep again, he had mono, and then he had strep again. He also had a condition that required several months of physical therapy. My husband lost his oldest brother to cancer. We had a leak on the 3rd floor of the house that resulted in a rainstorm through the 2nd floor bedrooms and down into the 1st floor living areas, which meant new mattresses, taking hundreds of clothes to the dry cleaners, industrial dehumidifiers and fans, new drywall paint. The washer broke and then the vacuum broke. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst of it was that Pat was alone dealing with something we never imagined we'd have to deal with, and I was 7,000 miles away. My return from Afghanistan, the long-awaited reunion, was earlier than planned, and honestly was a bit of a blur. I was in Afghanistan on Friday, still 2 months from coming home. By the following Monday, I'd shed all my combat gear, and I was at a hospital in Virginia confirming that my 14-year-old daughter had cancer. She is completely recovered, and she's a healthy 26-year-old now. It made us take stock in how we lived our lives, and it tested us. We all became a little more resilient as a result. I left the active duty Navy so I wouldn't have to leave my family, but since I left active duty, I've been mobilized twice, for a year each time. And although the fear of leaving my kids drove me to leave the full-time Navy, I ended up leaving them for even longer periods of time. And you know what happened? I survived, and they survived. Actually, they did more than that, they thrived. And that's what resilience is. In 2017, I learned I was going to be sent away, this time for a year to Djibouti. I dreaded telling my kids, especially my youngest daughter, Lillian. It had been almost 5 years since my return from Afghanistan, and Lillian was still very attached to me. I didn't think she would take the news very well. When I told her I was going to have to leave again, she put her arms around me, tears streaming down her face, and then she looked up at me and said, "I'm proud of you, Mom." She was 9. And yet she was resilient enough to put her own pain aside and acknowledge that I was being asked to do something for our country. Really amazing resilience. And although life does not always go as planned, things will work out if you fall back on what you are learning here at Holy Names. Although my journey was very unique in its twists and turns, it was fundamentally shaped by the values and the lessons I learned here. I hope you learn from these lessons I share with you, and remember that no matter where life takes you, the foundation laid here at Holy Names will hold you steady. Let me give you one piece of advice. Whatever you choose to do, and wherever your journey takes you, go all in. That's S.A. Kwan's Woodbury. To the faculty and administration, thank you for investing in our future by developing well-rounded young women. And students, ladies, thank you for investing in yourselves. I can't wait to see the difference each of you will make in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Admiral, for that amazing, reminding us of the values that we teach in Holy Names, of our phrase, as the Quam the highest award from the people here in Holy Names. I hope everyone here takes to heart all that the Admiral has offered us, all her words of wisdom and reminders of the values that we took away from a Holy Names education. So thank you again. At this time, I'd like to call forward Lexi Cristalli, the president of the senior class.
On behalf of the entire student body, I would like to thank you for coming and sharing your inspiring words with us today. We are incredibly appreciative of you and all you have done for our country. We would like to present you with a token of our love and thanks.
Please stand for the retiring of the colors.